He's a very cool looking Titan. He doesn't have the pointy ears though. Obviously the Titan shape changes depending on whoever. Yeah, I wonder where the pointy ears come from. Is that just a design choice to make Aaron's Titan look cooler? I don't actually remember if Grisha's Titan had it, or maybe it came from the mix between the Green-Eyed Titan and the Founding Titan. The Attack Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin. That's what was written there. Eren. More answers right here. More answers right here. I still want to know why Grisha and not him. Ooh. So shifters only have 13 years. And then what, they die? Oh. Oh. Ah, shit. There's... 巨人を形成する血や骨、時には記憶や意志もその道を通り送られてくる。そしてその道は全て一つの座標で交わる。つまりそれが始祖の巨人だ。全てのユミルの民はその座標へとつながっている。始祖ユミルの正体は一体何なんだ。マーレ政権下では悪魔の使い、神の使い、エルディア帝国の時代に神がもたらした奇跡。有機生物の起源と接触した少女、そう唱える者もいる。妹を連れて壁の外に出た日から、その行いが報われる日まで進み続けるんだ。死んでも、死んだ後も。That's really powerful, dude. Damn. これはお前が始めた物語だろう。9つの巨人にはそれぞれ名前がある。これからお前へ継承される巨人にもだ。その巨人はいついかなる時代においても自由を求めて進み続けた。自由のために戦った。名は Attack Titan. Shingeki no Kyojin. So that's a translation thing, this title, man. So the Attack Titan is a really cool name. Oh. She regained her memories. There Hajime goes, explaining everything has to have a meaning. Oh. She's already done. There was a ritual going on, just like they did with Eren. Tried to do with Eren. But hers probably succeeded. So the way they pass the Titans are like a tradition between Eldians or royal Eldians. Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
壁の中に入ったら初体を持つんだ。何を言ってる。俺にはダイナがいる。壁の中で人を愛せ。それができなければ繰り返すだけだ。同じ歴史を、同じ過ちを、何度も。ミカサやアルミン、みんなを救いたいなら使命を全うしろ。ミカサ、アルミン、誰のこと？
Oh, damn. So,
さあ、
he doesn't know. He just saw it in the past. In the strands. They crossed through time and space. Holy shit. Oh, crap. They still had one final bomb to drop on us. Not final, but like this episode was rough. And I suppose the last episode is not going to be so informative. It's going to be mostly setup. And this one was the final blow, I suppose. Holy damn. That was a lot. I just love this way that they chose to tell the stories in parallel. Any other less inventive show would have it like they would just show everything. Okay, it's a Grisha episode. Let's just focus on Grisha all the way. But they made it so that the things we're having here are basically Eren reliving Grisha's memories, right? And that's just really great, really well done. And it also provides the sense of sharing, like we are sharing Eren's discoveries. It's a hell lot better than just having him read the books and oh, so that's how it is. Oh, but like going back and forth, he read the books and then he's now reliving the memories to further confirm the things that he just learned. That's very dynamic, very interesting. I really like the way they chose to do it here. The art in this episode was so good, man. Those shots of Eren Kruger and Grisha on top of the wall. The background is just freaking amazing. I'm a sucker for anime backgrounds. So, huge bomb number 1. Titan shifters only have 13 years before they die. Why 13? I have absolutely no clue at this point. It served as a perfect scapegoat for answering the question as to why Kruger didn't do it himself. And it will also probably have a bigger impact on our Paradis crew, because Eren is drawing near his end too. He only has a few years left and he has a whole lot of work ahead of him. 8 years he has. It's a considerable amount of time. I don't think he's going to live that far. Maybe. But that's interesting. I don't know what to make of it yet. I'll just say it's interesting right now because it opens some possibilities, and fired up by thinking about this. So that dialogue between Kruger and Grisha, that's very, very meaningful because it speaks leagues about what I was talking before in regards to this being very much a passionate thing tied to more than ideas, ideals, ideologies. It's much more tied to passion, strong emotions, and personal grudges. It's an acknowledgement that all of those things, as righteous and justified as they might be, they're not always enough to push a revolution further. They're not always enough. You have to have the emotional component. That mirrors a lot the real world, right? Big conflicts, big happenings in the history of mankind. If you trace them back carefully, most of the time you can pinpoint them exactly to just someone being angry, to just someone having personal desires of changing, of turning things around somehow because of something that happened in their personal lives. Sometimes it's justifiable in the bigger picture, but sometimes, mostly it's not. To mobilize nations, communities, and whatnot just to pursue that. In the case of Grisha here, Kruger understands that Grisha is broken and that his motivation has been cut off. He just lost everyone he loved, and you know, there's just isn't a lot more for him in this. And he just flat out he just lays out the harsh truth that is not every time we will get the fulfillment we want out of it, because those things are become abstract. We just have to push forward because we started it. If it seems like it's meaningless, we try and give it another meaning, even if that meaning is just because. It's a history you started. That's what he said. Everything that has happened this far, be it righteous, be it justifiable or not, you started it. You're the one who took your sister outside those gates. You're the one who basically is responsible for her death. You're basically responsible for everyone's deaths here today, and that could even cast a possible light into as to why Kruger did not save them earlier, did not save them at all. To make Grisha carry that weight and understand the weight of his actions and how this story has been a lot about him, and now he just can't let go of it. That makes sense, and doesn't at the same time, but it's a heavy warp psychology thing, and I just loved the way they made it here. It felt heavy, and we felt the weight of the words coming out of Kruger. This man has done horrible things, is committed to this cause for a long time, and it came to a point in which he lost the motivation. He felt lost. He felt at loss with the meaning of everything he was doing, and at some point, after all these years killing his own compatriots, even if his Titan time wasn't over, I don't think he would have enough fire to go out and carry the rest of the mission by himself. So those depictions right here, they were really powerful, really meaningful. I really liked that. And yeah, we got a brief glimpse of Ymir tied to an altar. It was tied much like Eren was, like with her hands chained and in an area that was made of Titan crystal, just like the Rice basement. Maybe not the royal family doing that. Like maybe the Marleyans just appropriating themselves of that ritual, and that's how they pass on shifters. I guess that means she's a goner, which is a shame. She was really interesting, and that also means that now Marley has another shifter. They lost Bertold, obviously, Bertold and Annie, but at least they got another shifter in return. Not the most useful one, I must add, but a shifter is a shifter, right? The possibilities are endless. The whole thing with shifters is that their true power is their ability to mix in, to just infiltrate, to just be a part of something, and then all of a sudden, boom. And of course, as Titans, they are smart. They have human level intelligence. They are able to follow instructions. They're able to operate and to do tactical operations, organized movements, and you can only do that with dumb Titans if you have someone controlling them. And that brings the question again as to why Zeke can do that. Is that because he's son of the royal blood? He was son of Dinah, right? Is that a power of the Beast Titan? Is that inherently the Beast Titan? Or is that because Zeke is of royal blood as well? That's really interesting. If he had the even without having the founding Titan, just the fact that he has one of the 9 Titan shifters is enough for him to powers akin to that of the founding Titan. I'm sure he's not as powerful as a founding Titan. We even saw signs that his power is not complete, is not as efficient as that of the founding Titan in season 2 when he was introduced. That Titans listen to him, but some Titans I mean, his influence is not as powerful. It's not absolute. I think that's what that scene where he's introduced and kills Mike. I think that's what that scene establishes. That he has dominance over Titans, but not supreme. Yeah, I think that explains why he can control Titans, or maybe it's a Beast Titan thing. But I would bet on the Royal Blood. And once again, the we saw this super peaceful ideology of the king, and how his will transmits to everyone carrying the founding Titan. That is really interesting, man. I don't know if we'll ever understand why. It's one of those things that the show could get away with, not explaining it. Yeah, so maybe it could happen. It could be something as simple as just he had this someone with the power to erase people's memories, steal their memories, rewrite them, and yeah, it's definitely possible that his will would pass on to the next generations. But can that be reversed? I mean, from a narrative standpoint, it stands to reason that a thing like that exists. I just don't know if Hajime Isayama will bother giving it one of his very reasonable, very plausible explanations, or if it's just there as a tool to justifying why he didn't just gather every Titan in the wall and fucking smashed Marley. I'm very interested in that, and I hope we get to see it. And now I'm clueless as to the reason. Yeah, maybe it's just a narrative thing. When Kruger was talking about the king's will, the pacifist king, I really wish we explore more on that. We get to explore more of that because it feels very, very intricate right now to understand the roots of that. It kind of reminds me the vibes I'm getting from scenes like when Kruger was mentioning how the king surrounded himself with ignorance and kept preaching and spreading the word about this peaceful paradise and how they shouldn't ever leave that place. The vibe I'm getting is that it's an analogy to historical situations and also fictional situations in which leaders have some sort of revelation of epiphany, and those revelations are personal, and they're usually tied to religious aspects or spiritual revelations, anything like that, and they drive they lead those men to abandon their operational logics, their usual modus operandi, and makes them into entirely new creatures that are seeking something that sometimes is contradictory to how they led their lives so far. It's a kind of an exchange, an entire flip to a new code that blindly guides those men into a direction that usually dismisses and disregards the broader picture and the people that are affected by that new enlightened behavior. It kind of puts them in ideological trends, and that's amazing as well. I would just like to understand the roots of it, really. How did that come to be? It's a thing that happens, like I just mentioned. It's a thing that exists, but why is that passed on to every other generation, and why does it take over anyone that inherits the founding Titan? If we are really too crazy about it, if we put on our tinfoil hats, we can maybe trace that back to Ymir herself. I don't know, because it's certainly related to this thing of the bats and everyone is linked in the cosmos and whatnot. But what if Titans only lost the war or only lost their dominance because of Ymir's will? And that was passed on generation, and maybe it grew stronger as time passed by, and it got to a point where someone just refused to fight altogether. that's really interesting. I can't really theorize a lot about it. I know very little about the past, and yeah, but it's definitely something that's really uh, deeply tied in with this thing about the bats and how the memories of the audience travel through time and space, how they're all somehow connected. Now this thing about the paths, the strands, uh, I'm thinking of them right now, the way I saw them depicted so far. I'm thinking of it like maybe a communication line between Eldians, or maybe a mechanism of survival, or something that puts them in contact with their the substance of their very being, of life itself, as Grisha, as Kruger said. It all traces back maybe to God, or to their god, or like Ymir's spirit. Maybe the coordinate is Ymir's spirit herself, and everything that happens is just an echo of her wish. Maybe she can still influentiate them to a degree. I don't know. That's all a very long stretch. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, it gives me the vibes of being like a river of life of the Titans. And to explore it, to follow its path, it's kind of explaining the true origin and the meaning of the Titans in this world. So if Isayama decides to go that path, I think it's gonna be a little more gradual. I think we're only been teased now with the tip of the iceberg. It's going to go very deeper. Or maybe we will go just enough to push forward our mundane experience right here about this whole conflict. I can totally see him dissociating those things, and it would still have a decent closure. But imagine if he went deeper on that. Imagine if he actually goes deeper on that. I don't know. I don't read the manga, but maybe some wild shit is already going on. Here's hoping. Here's hoping. I dig that kind of crazy, more abstract, psychological, spiritual stuff. Let's hope he dives in a lot more into that next season. And just that one final thing regarding that Eren consideration. That's one thing I found really interesting, is when Eren was putting together the pieces with Dinah, and then coming to the realization that that could happen with Historia too. It was really interesting. It pushed Eren's character development a little bit further, making him he's slightly becoming more interesting. I always felt like he was a very typical anime main character, but he's getting some new interesting layers here, getting in contact with history and the memories. Maybe that decision not to tell anyone that Historia could be used to channel in the coordinate powers is both a move that shows that he's gaining maturity as a person, and also that he is aligning himself with his past Eren, like with Eren Kruger, because Eren made most of the same remarks about Dinah. Basically, Kruger said that in urgent situations, like in extreme situations like the world they live in, they're often up against those. People do extreme, horrendous practices for self-preservation, and that would mostly include if they were aware that Dinah was royal family. And Marleyans know a lot more about the Titan myth, about the Titan history, about the Titan just overall functioning, to know that they could explore Dinah in a lot more ways than those Eldians, than the military Eldians. So they could get a lot more inventive knowing that. Like, Eren knows best that he cannot trust everyone to make the best decisions, the best judgments, while retaining their humanity, and not just flat out going to dark corners of morality to expand, to act on top of those new knowledges they just acquired. Because military can be rough. They can be very practical and easily disregard the human life, human rights, and all that stuff. So knowing that they could explore and use Historia directly to more appropriately use the coordinates powers could lead to some nasty things, because she's obviously just there as a dummy. She's the Queen of England right now, and if they found a proper practical meaning to her existence, make no mistake into thinking that Big Cheese would be a nice guy, that Zachary, all those guys, they would think on the most proper practical ways to using her and gaining any kind of leverage and strength to push forward and probably move outside the walls and lash back at Marley. So it kind of, all of that information kind of aligned back with Eren at that moment, which is really interesting in many points, in truth, by many perspectives. From Isayama, by putting that there, he kind of drives away a bit this feeling that everyone in the walls, all the audience here in the walls in Paradis, they're all nice people. They all know better. They all have fail-proof judgments. It's not like that, dude. They're humans all the same. They're capable of atrocities. And on the other side, it's interesting for Eren for being able to acknowledge and judge that quickly on the fly, and also interesting on the perspective that he's now kind of aligning his thoughts. He's becoming more practical, and just being able to make better decisions overall with what he's learning from Eren in the past. I'm not gonna go as far as saying that he's the same Eren that we saw in the past and that the whole thing goes in cycles. It's too early for that. But yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah. And that final drop, that final bomb right there with Kruger being able to know Armin Mikasa, it obviously, he didn't sound like he knew who he was talking about. He just saw it in the paths, like in the strands that cross through time and space. He saw that those people would be important to someone, important in a way to the journey that leads to the founding Titan. He saw that they would be in Grisha's path somehow, and then in the path after Grisha. So this it's as if time is kind of a river. It's kind of river of time. You can catch glimpses of past, maybe the future, and you can't really make a lot of meaning out of it. You just see some elements going by that you know are relevant, and you know are part of the flow, but you can't really make out what they are. I'm liking this so far. I'm liking this. Very interested to know how will they handle it afterwards. Great episode. I'm kind of melancholic that we're getting near the end. I still have no clue when season 4 is going to come out. I'll have to look into it once I'm done. And yeah, that's about it.